I had a feeling I'd find you two lurking around. How is it that whenever something fishy goes down, you two are peeking around the corner?
Save your monologues for the shower, Snoop. We didn't do it!
And what exactly didn't you do?
Whatever you're implying we did or didn't do.
So you did it.
It depends.
Depends on what?
If we did whatever you're hinting at we did, or for that matter didn't do, and if the answer might incriminate us to a certain degree, then as a fact, I can state that we didn't do it. See? But if not doing it, whatever it is you're implying we did or didn't do would put us in the same position as in the previous statement, considering it was true, then we certainly did do it.
Hey, hello, I'm Kråkan, also known as Corvus Cornix, and welcome to YACC, yet another Crowcast where I pick a game, I play it for a week, and then I'll talk about it. This week's game is Bear With Me, Episode 1, and it's a point-and-click by Gasordium Games, made for the PC in 2016 and PS4 in 2019. And it's part of a collection of 3 episodes and a standalone game called The Lost Robot. But first, and also, there will be spoilers, just so you know. But first, a little backstory. I don't really know when and where I picked this game up, but I think it was just because it was cheap and it looked kind of interesting. It has this sort of black and white kind of noir feel to it, which I'll get into later. So the game starts with a noir setting. Everything is in black and white and there's some pop-in reds. And outside there is rain. And cutting to the main character's room, this girl called Amber, she's about 10 years old and she's been waking up in the middle of the night, or she's been having nightmares. And her pet giraffe, or pet stuffed animal giraffe, Millie, is worried about her because Amber's brother Flynn has gone missing. And you talk to Millie and she gives you an expo, like a dump of information about Paper City, which we'll talk about later, and the fires that's been broken out there recently, and a red man that's appeared and asked for Amber. And Millie tells her to find Bear. He's this old teddy bear that's worn out, and he's one of the more funnier character because he's so gritty. He's an old stuffed bear in a tuxedo, and he has a tie, and he's a private snoop, and he is really badass. He's exactly like one of those noir detectives, actually, and he has an office in Amber's closet, which I thought was funny. We'll get more into in a bit. But this game is chapter based, and there's actually 3 chapters in one standalone game. I said this before, but you pay for each episode and on the go, and they get better and better as they move on, so kind of neat. So you pick up, because this is a point and click, you pick up things. So the first pickup is that, well, on her person she has a Swiss Army knife, and in one of the drawers there's a broken magnifier, and then there's the case under the bed with a battery in it. So the trope, or the main fact about like point and click, is you pick up everything you can. Even if you don't use it, you pick up everything. And then you enter the closet, and Ted has a long monologue. It's kind of like a comic book kind of. You go panel to panel, and he's a detective, and Smooth Yaz is playing in the background, and he explains what happened, and they have some kind of bad story. I think they're basically not playing with each other as much as they used to because kids grow up. And in his drawer, I thought this was funny. I think it's a Jack Daniels sort of whiskey reference. He has a bottle of carrot juice. It's the equivalent he drinks to a lot also, and he's kind of a badass. But anyway, so he wants his magnifying glass back because she borrowed it and she broke it. So he needs the magnifier because that's what detectives use, I guess. So in this room, this is kind of funny, in the closet there's a Jason mask, and this game is full of reference to stories and video games and movies and stuff. So there's like a Jason, one of those hockey masks. So she says like, well, my friend Jason wanted to borrow this. What's the worst thing that could happen? I thought that was funny because we all seen like Friday the 13th, those movies. And then you pick up stuff here too. You pick up some sticky glue. And what you do is you use your Swiss Army knife and you remove the glass from, I think it's like a pair of glasses. Her mom's reading glasses, I think. And then you use the glue and you kind of combine things and give the magnified glass back to him. But he realized, of course, that this is not actually his own magnifying glass, and she denies it outright. And then there's the bathroom, which you can enter, but you need a flashlight to to actually see what's going on. Maybe there's a fuse or something, and then you can't really enter your brother's room, Flint's room, because it's locked from the inside. And we'll get in there eventually, but yeah. And further down the hallway, you leave Amber's room basically. You talk to a robot named Rusty, and has a really good voice actor for some reason, like really good. He actually fits the role perfect. And there is some more explanation talking about Paper City, and Ted kind of calls him Rust, and they kind of talk. And they make a reference in the dialogue about the Yellow King, and I thought it was a Lovecraft reference because the king in yellow, but yeah, I don't know. Because it's a point and click game, you can click on stuff. So there's this ordinary lamp in the hallway, and you click on it, and kind of Amber says like, that's a save point. What is this, a Resident Evil game? And I was like, what? We have autosaves or something, she says. This is kind of like a weird kind of game. And the parents' room is locked, so you can go into the study, and if you click one of the lamps, you hear a developer actually. He has this kind of dialogue when he says that he was kind of locked up and he didn't work on the project, and then you hear footsteps, and you hear like a gun being pulled and shots fired and a body get dragged out. And it's like kind of disturbing, and Amber kind of reflects on this. That was weird. And Teddy kind of says, yep. And then there's nothing, not even a mention about it. It's kind of funny. And then you pick up a flashlight, but there's no batteries. And there's actually an Anubis bust that you tip over. And underneath there is a code, 107, which will become useful later on. And there's a small key hanging on a little hook, but you can't pick it up. And they kind of make this stupid joke, and it's like, I can't reach that key, Amber says. And Ted kind of says, well, you can just say, and he puts on this like dark shades, it's just hanging around. And this is just so stupid, but it's charming as hell too. But then you go back to Ted's office to pick up some papers. So in the dialogue with Rusty, he actually needs some legal paper for some reason, and Ted is like a private snoop, so he can get like a paper kind of proved. So what you do is you go and get the legal papers in Ted's office. And anyway, you go to the bathroom to pick up a duster, and there is this weird kind of the room kind of changes to a more horrid landscape, and the red text is displayed like, have you seen him yet? And then they kind of act weird, and this is strange, what is going on? Use the duster to remove or reveal some dust so you can crawl into the other room from the study. Ted goes in, and Ted has a monologue kind of noir kind of story, comic book style again, about explaining everything what's happened. And you go into Flint's room through this hole, and you find a level 6 sword. You pick it up, and then you go talk to two goons called the Mugshot Brothers, and that's from the clip from the beginning of this pod. I thought that kind of dialogue was so excellent, and it's like really good voice acted, and yeah. And of course he asked the goons about Flynn, and he eventually, through all the dialogue, you get a pair of keys. So you go to the parents' room, because that's what the key is, and you pick up a film, and you go into the dark room, because they have like a photo room next to their bedroom. And in the dark room, you crack open the safe, and you use the number you got from the Anubis head, and you kind of crack the safe. And what you do later is you develop the film, and you get a picture of what the killer looks like. And then for some reason, and I might be missing some bits here and there, but what happens is that you need to be in the room for a certain amount of time, because Amber's parents kind of has this safety system where the door locks so there will not be getting in any sunlight and destroying the film once you started the machine up. So during this time, you actually play as the Red Hooded Man, and you go into all these rooms that you can and cannot go into. And Rusty was supposed to protect the people in the lobby, but since he has no battery in him, he then be given to Ted and Amber. He's off. So you play as the murderer, you go into the room, and you actually kill the Millie. And you hear a scream, and what happens then is that you actually have to go out there and see what's been happening. You actually go up, and you find that the stuffed animal is kind of ripped open, and it's kind of sad. There's just this kind of sad moment. And there's a plot twist to this also, but I will not spoil it in this because there are more chapters if you want to play along with those. Anyway, you need to find this killer, and you need to go to the Paper City, because that's actually where he is, you know, where he is hanging out. Now there's a long quest chain. You need a stick. So you go into Amber's room and you pick up a stick because for some reason the window is open and rain and stuff is getting in. So you just take the stick. And this is one of the parts where we're really hard because everything, they don't have a highlight feature, so you can't really see all the items on the ground. That would have been great. But I missed like one little nail on the floor and I got crazy. And I was like, what did I miss? So you pick up the stick and you pick up this little nail. What you do with that is you actually, I think you pick up some duct tape in the development, the photo room, the red room, or whatever you call it. So anyway, you use, there's like this old grandpa clock in the hallway, and you use the little nail to open it. And Teddy says that was actually so stupid that it actually worked. So you get one of those hooks that are inside the clock. You need to get into the attic because that's one of the ways into Paper City. So you take the hook and you combine it with a stick and you use the duct tape and you get access. And there's one of the more funnier characters. There's actually a dog. All of these characters that they meet, they're actual toys, but they're a little bigger. So anyway, there's this police officer that is guarding the borders to Paper City, and he's not supposed to let people in and out because there's a lockdown and there's a murderer running around and killing people and all this stuff. So you need a permit from the governor or the person that's leading the city. So there's this funny like dialogue between Ted and the police officer. I think he's called Brian, the dog with a fake mustache. And he loses this, and it's kind of a funny scene. But so he always Ted always refers to Brian like Jerry or Steve or something else. Like it's really stupid, but it's so funny because he's like dead serious. He doesn't care about this guy. I don't need to know your name, but he has to it's so stupid. But anyway, you need clearance to get into that place. So there's a couple of things you actually pick up. Because you need to pick up some ink, and you need to there's a candle you pick up, and you use the candle and ink. And this is a really kind of weird thing because when you combine stuff, you have to do it in a certain order. It's not like all these other adventure games where you can kind of like do as you please, or more. It's more free but you need to combine them in a certain order. So you use the candle in Swiss Army knife, and you carve out the kind of seal symbol on it, and you press it against the ink, and you get a permit in Ted's office. I think he has one of those in his cabinet, and you give it to Brian, and you actually get access to Paper City, and you get the pops up a text like level 2+ forging, because Amber says forging is hard because it's a long puzzle. And of course you give him the fake papers, and you enter Paper City. They kind of walk down there's actually paper houses, and I thought that was a kind of cool idea because Paper City is fake and it's made out of paper. It's kind of like this illusion on the surface. I thought that was a clever reference and kind of clever way, and kids always play with cardboard stuff. So anyway, they walk into the Paper City, and Amber kind of asks him, Ted, what happened to your other partner? And he said he grew up. So that's the end of the first chapter. So gameplay. Unravel the mysteries and find out what's going on in Paper City and solve the clues, point and click. Control, the option button brings up the menu. The left stick moves the cursor around, and R1 shows the inventory, and X talks, and square kind of brings up the options of combining, I guess. Graphics, they're actually unique. They're made in Unity. They're like, as I made the reference before, there's like a Flash game, but a very polished one. It's a black and white noir style game, really cool, and which on popping colors of red, like the hooded man in red, the red hooded man or whatever he's called. He's red, and stuff there are kind of interesting to the plot, like all these flashes of text, and there's like a little like a clue, like some things are read basically. Sound and music. Slava Pogorski, I butchered the name, but he did a lot of the sound and music. And the music is kind of one of those things that make and break a game, in my opinion. And it is really good, like this kind of sets the vibe. And there's constantly throughout the game, if there's a window or something, there's always gonna be a random flash of lightning because it's raining outside. It always gets you off guard because the volume of the game is a little bit high to the standard of the TV set, at least my TV set. So it's kind of like I was doing something, looking around in a dark room, and all of a sudden, bam, lightning. But another thing about like the actress of Amber, she doesn't sound like a 10-year-old girl. She sounds like a 25-year-old something trying to be a 10-year-old. And her voice acting is so bad, man. It's really up against the contrast of like Rusty and the Ted's voice actor is actually excellent. He kind of sounds a bit like Vin Diesel, a little bit. And you have the goons, the Mugshot brothers, like really kind of Boston, kind of gangster sounding. Those are really good. But why Amber sounds like she just want to get her paycheck and go home, that's beyond me. I don't know. But in conclusion, I wrote no, unless you are willing to play through all of the chapters, because it's a full story. And the game is like the developers kind of got into the whole practice of making games. So the first game is kind of like, it looks cheap, but it has all like it's like baking a cake or something. They made the first cake, and it's okay, but the more cake you kind of make, you get the point. It gets better and better. So play chapter 1 to 3, and then the Lost Robot, which you actually play in the last game. You actually play as Flint, and you're looking for Amber. That's actually on the better ones. So that's actually kind of cool. But anyway, thanks for watching and listening, and take care.